us all for the wonderful food, but I'm delighted to be here. Sort of asked me to just come and sort of welcome the group and say a few words. And I think for me, in my new role sort of as the CD lead and looking at sort of inclusion and diversity, I actually thought this morning it's the first time I have, in my 16 years of research, actually done something Diwali related in the office, right? Because it just is not something that's happened before. So I'm actually quite delighted to be here. And if I think of it in the context of Diwali, it's going to be an interesting weekend for me because I'm actually flying to the US tomorrow, but I will be celebrating Diwali with some family on Sunday there. And Diwali for me has always been something that's not just been around friends and family, but also just about community. And I think my earliest childhood memories have been about, just being in an open house, right, where everybody, people, neighbors, and everyone kind of does meet and greet and celebrate it together. And that sense of collective was actually my sort of, my association of Diwali growing up. And I think, if I think of it today, you think, Festival of Lights, and light for me is everything that you associate with things positive, right? And overcoming things that might be darker. And I think especially today relevant because, if you think of it, there's a lot of strife, there's a lot of things happening globally which are not necessarily all positive, right? And I think there's a role again that we all play in that, and it comes back to that collective and what your contribution is as part of that whole. So as we step into our new year soon, in the calendar, I do wish you all really a happy Diwali and a very prosperous and healthy new year as well. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks, Payal, and thank you everyone for coming, and also our esteemed guests, who I'll introduce in a second. Congratulations, Payal, on your new role. I don't know if people are aware, she's joined Ollie's table now as the talent and human capital lead across UK and I. So it's great to have Payal there. Diwali to me, before I introduce the Swamiji here, I just want to say a few words. I would categorize Diwali to me in two big areas. One, like Payal said, it is always, I have associated Diwali with fun and happiness and everything that goes with it. Lots of firecrackers, lots of sweets, lots of celebrations, lots of going out, lots of, but I think decorations, lots of diyas, which has got so much of positivity as well as lots of gifts. I have to remember. But the other thing which Diwali also means is a time to reflect, because I think all these festivals have got so much hidden stories and history behind them, and especially in case of Diwali, Lord Ram is, if I can use the Sanskrit word Maharaja Purushottam, he's like, so someone where we can learn something from life or the story of Diwali. There's so much to learn in our everyday life, and that's what I always look back at, how my last year has gone, and what are the things I am developing to be a better human being, and then obviously care for the society and other things and family, which probably comes next, and that actually led me to when Surinder, he heads, introducing him quickly before I introduce Maharaj, he's I think global head of private banking analytics at HSBC. When he called me to say he's organizing for Maharaj multiple events, I think Maharaj has had events at Clifford Chance yesterday, HSBC, and then Ernst & Young day before yesterday, and House of Lords next week. So he was organizing that. I said, well, I think we should have something around Diwali even in Accenture, because we've got, I think, a significant proportion of Accenture population that must be celebrating Diwali, so thank you for doing that. And I thought that to learn from Maharaj as to how we can apply the learnings from Diwali in our everyday corporate life, business life, how we deal with each other, and what we can improve in ourselves. So I'll introduce Swamiji. His name is His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and he is he's a renowned spiritual leader. He's been, I think it's about 35 years back when he was studying in Germany, when he came across some books, and he got inspired to go back to his roots back in India and start to explore more and learn more. And he's been practicing spirituality and actually spreading the message around how one becomes a better human being for so long. And he's been running various projects, including Food for Life, which is like feeding hundreds of thousands of children midday meals in India who cannot afford it. Several other projects, like I think he's got a full TV serial with more than 100 episodes, is that right? Bhakti Charu, which is so there are lots of things, but the thing which is most important today, I think, is his ability to connect the spirituality with the business world and the corporate world. So without further ado, if I hand over to Maharaj to say a few words, and then I think we can open it up for questions. In the meantime, please do grab some food and make yourself comfortable, because yeah, I think we've got the room till 2 o'clock, so you can even get the food later. But I know because you just came in, if you want to grab some food.
Thank you very much, Sila. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Payal. Thanks everybody for creating this opportunity for us to get to know each other and share our ideas and views. And as you are speaking about Diwali, the word Diwali is the abbreviated form of the Sanskrit term Dipavali. Deep means lamp, and Bali means cluster or multitude. The whole city was lit up in order to receive the return of Lord Ram, the Prince of Ayodhya, who had to go in exile for 14 years due to some unfortunate conspiracy. In India, Lord Ram has been considered to be the ideal hero, the ideal personality. As Sulabh just mentioned, Maryada Purushottam. The Purushottam means the supreme person. Purusha means a person, and Uttama means the highest, the supreme. The supreme personality who is establishing the honor and value and dignity of righteous life. He's exemplifying, he's demonstrating through his own actions and behavior how a man should be like. And when we delve into his life, we see what a wonderful life, wonderful demonstration of one's existence. That is. He was born as the eldest of 4 sons of the king of Ayodhya. His father Dasarath was renowned for his valor and righteousness. He was the ruler of the entire land, and his kingdom was Ayodhya. And the day Ram was about to be coronated as the successor to the throne, that day he had to leave everything and go to the forest. Actually, he was an ideal personality, like his character was so wonderful that everyone loved him. And the whole city was vibrant with the festivity of this occasion, that he is going to be coronated the next day. Along with his mother, he had 2 other stepmothers. And even his stepmothers loved him like their own son. Those 3 queens of Dasarath were Kaushalya, mother of Ram, Sumitra, the mother of 2 other brothers of Ram, and Kaikeyi, the youngest one, was the mother of Bharat. So these are the 4 brothers, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrugna. And even Kaikeyi, Ram's stepmother, was extremely delighted with this occasion, in this occasion of Ram's coronation the next day. But she had a maidservant. In India, those days, when a princess got married, along with the princess also came her entourage. Her maidservants, even her friends also used to come along and become a part of her scene there. So Manthara was hunchbacked. She was not only crooked in her body, she was also crooked in her mind. She had an extremely crooked mind, and Manthara started to criticize and even chastise Kaikeyi. That why are you so happy for this occasion? Don't you realize this is going to be the most unfortunate happening in your life? You lose the favor of your husband. You will be deprived of your status. You will be deprived of your good fortune. That now that all the favor and all the honor and glory will be offered to Ram's mother, because Ram is going to be the king. His mother is going to be the queen mother. And what will be your status? Initially, Kaikeyi could not tolerate that proposal or this presentation. But Manthara kept on working on her, and eventually Kaikeyi's mind became affected, and she also started to perceive that what may happen due to Ram's coronation. But in India, the custom is the eldest son inherits the property of the father. Especially the kingdom goes to the eldest son, and the other brothers becomes his subordinate assistants. They also have their honor and dignity and position. But anyway, I mean, all these 4 brothers were extremely close to each other. There was no dissension or animosity between them. But Kaikeyi's mind was vitiated in such a way that she now began to consider that how can this situation be reversed? Like Ram is a natural successor to the throne, being the eldest of the 4 sons. So then Manthara reminded Kaikeyi that, look, long time ago, when your husband was wounded in a battle, and you treated him so nicely that, and he was so pleased. I mean, due to your treatment, due to your care, due to your nursing him, his situation, I mean, he revived from that serious injury. And so at that time, he wanted to give you some boon, 2 boons to fulfill your any desire, anything that you wanted, you could get from him. But at that time, you're getting anything because you have given me everything. There is nothing that I may need. I have got everything, you have given me everything. So then at that time you did not accept that offer. But now the time has come when you can ask for that boon. As a result of the first boon, you ask that Bharat should become the king. And the second boon would be that Ram should be sent to exile for 14 years. So Kaikeyi, after being trained up in that way, she went to a chamber to display her distress. The king was looking for her and couldn't find, and eventually he came and found her in that room. And the room which was meant for express one's lamentation. And there King Dasarath found Kaikeyi lying on the floor. She taken up all her ornaments, her royal dress, just one simple sari draped around her body. So he asked what happened. So initially Kaikeyi didn't say anything, and after, when Dasarath kept on persuading her, then she told him, "Do you remember that you gave me 2 boons?" He said, "Yes." "So tell me what you want. Will you fulfill that boon that you gave me at that time? You will offer me anything that I want from you?" Dasarath's reply was, "Yes, sure. I gave you my words, so ask for anything." Okay, the first boon, let my son Bharat become the king. And second boon, let Ram go in exile for 14 years. Initially, Dasarath could not take it seriously because even Kaikeyi was so fond of Ram. Ram's nature was so wonderful that everyone loved him. I mean, in the eyes of Kaikeyi, there was no difference between Bharat and Ram. And now she's asking that Ram should be sent to exile, and instead of him, Bharat should be coronated as the king. But when Dasarath realized that Kaikeyi's demand was serious, so he fainted. And eventually, when he came out of his came to his consciousness, again he asked whether she really wanted that. And then eventually Dasarath was prepared not to grant her that boon. Then no, I can't. So whatever happens. Now you see, for a person of honor and dignity, to break his promise is considered to be worse than death. But Dasharatha was prepared to even go to that extent. But next morning, when Ram got to know that that is what has happened, his father is bound with his word of honor to his stepmother, and this is what his stepmother wanted. Ram was prepared and to accept that, and he approached his father and said, "No, I'll go." Dasharath said, "No, nothing doing. I'm not going to grant her this throne." But Ram insisted to uphold his father's word of honor. And Ram left his kingdom. Ram's wife Sita is the example of an ideal wife. She's a princess, never practically stepped out of a palace. And even she was carried on some threads. She was carried with great honor and pomp and grandeur. Now she had to go into the forest. Ram just told her, "You can't come with me. Like, you do not know what the forest life is like." But Sita insisted, "No, I am your wife. Whatever comes to you, I am here to separate it. I am here to share that with you. So that is my duty." So due to Sita's insistence, Ram had to agree to take Sita along with him to the forest. Ram's brother Lakshman, who was extremely attached to Ram, Lakshman also insisted that he wanted to go with him. So eventually, 3 of them left the palace. At that time, Bharat was not there in Ayodhya. Bharat was in his maternal uncle's house. And so he was not aware of what actually happened. And when Ram left, Dasarath just ran after his chariot, calling out to him. And that night, Dasarath left his body. He could not bear the agony of separation from his dearest son. And this is how, like, from the height of jubilation, the whole kingdom now is overwhelmed with grief and anguish. The news was sent to Bharat. He was not told that his father died, and the messenger was sent, "Please come back immediately." So Bharat came back and he got the news, what actually happened. What his mother has done. He was extremely angry with his mother. And he was so angry with the Manthara, the maidservant, that he practically was prepared to throw her out from the palace. And he decided that, no, I'm not going to accept this kingdom. I'll get back my brother, Ram. So he went to the forest, searching out to Ram, and he found him and requested him to come back. Ram told him, "No, I cannot, because this is the matter of my father's words, father's promise, and I must uphold it." So when Bharat saw that Ram is not going to come back, Then Bharat just took his shoes, wooden shoes, big shoes, carried those shoes back to the kingdom of Ayodhya, and placed shoes of Ram on the throne. He did not sit on the throne. And keeping Ram's shoes as the Ram's presence there on the throne, he simply represented Ram and ruled over the kingdom for 14 years. I mean, in this way we can see, mind you, this is not a fiction. This is real happening. It's not just a story that was concocted by somebody's imagination. It is a real happening. All these personalities were real. And this way we can see how exemplary each one's behavior was. And in that sense, so it is presented by our exponents, our acharya, spiritual teachers, that in a way Bharat's glory supersedes Ram's, in a way. Because Ram was leading the life of an ascetic in a forest, where the environment is perfect for that. Whereas Bharat, living in the palace, in the midst of this extreme luxury and comfort, he was leading the life of an ascetic. He did not eat any cooked food for these 14 years. He simply took uncooked fruits and nuts and roots. He didn't comb his hair. His hair became matted like an ascetic. He did not wear royal robes. He dressed himself with tree barks, the way the ascetics live in the forest. So this is how we can see the perfect examples. The perfect example of a king in Lord Ram, the perfect example of a wife through Sita, perfect example of brothers, Lakshman and Bharat, perfect example of a father in Dasarath. And this way we can see all these. Of course, at the same time, we must remember that there is a conflict between good and evil. Ram is the personification of goodness. And at the side of that, there's a personification of evil in Ravan, the king of the demons. So Ravan and his associates are the perfect example of evil, whereas Ram's side is the perfect example of virtue. And then when Ram was in the forest for 13 years went by, towards the beginning of the last year, a demoness called Surpanakha, who was the sister of the king of the demons, Ravan, just happened to see Ram in the forest. And she became enamored by his handsome features. And she approached Ram, proposing to marry him. Well, she was a demoness, but we must here remember also, she had the ability, with her mystic power, she could transform herself into a most beautiful woman. she did transform herself as a most beautiful woman and approached Ram. When Ram and Lakshman, after taking a bath in the river, were just coming back to their hut, so Surpanakha came across as a beautiful woman and proposed to Ram to marry her. In a joking way, Ram told him that, look, I already have a wife, and if you accept me, then your life will become completely miserable due to her presence. Rather, you marry my brother who is single. So then Surpanakha approached Lakshman, and Lakshman started to tell her the difficulties she will have if she married him. So eventually Surpanakha recognized that actually both of them were making fun of her. So she became so angry that she assumed her form as a Rakshasi, as a demoness, and she was about to devour Sita, considering that Sita was the cause of her distress. And at that time Lakshman just chopped her nose off with his sword. Surpanakha, crying, went back to her brother. Two brothers were her mentor with an army, a huge army of Rakshasas. So when they got to know that a mere human being had behaved with their sister in such a way, they decided to attack him. And Ram and Lakshman wiped out the entire army, along with those two brothers of Surpanakha, who also happened to be the brothers of Ravan. And then Surpanakha approached Ravan and told him about what happened and tried to persuade him to take revenge. But when she saw that Ravan was not really inclined to do that, then she attacked, or she took advantage of Ravan's weakness and told him that, look, his wife is the most beautiful woman. And she started to describe the beauty of Sita. So Ravan became excited about that. So he decided to steal Sita. Because Ravan didn't want to go into a direct confrontation when he saw that this person wiped out the entire Rakshasa army that his two brothers were leading, Khar and Dushan. Then Ravan didn't want to go into a direct confrontation. He thought that it would be easier to just steal her. And eventually, through some wicked arrangement, dubious arrangement, Ravan stole Sita. And he had a flying chariot. With that chariot he came back to his kingdom, which was in the middle of the ocean. Today's Lanka is Sri Lanka, was the capital or kingdom of Ravan. Now, while searching for Sita, Ram came across a bunch of monkeys. And so the monkeys agreed to side with Ram in his struggle to find his wife and rescue her. With the help of the monkeys, Ram built a bridge from the tip of India to all the way to Lanka. And now, through archaeological research, it has been found out that there is a ruin of a bridge still visible in the ocean. So now, after a long struggle, a terrible battle, Ram defeated Ravan, killed him, and Sita was rescued. And after rescuing Sita, when Ram came back, returned to Ayodhya after completion of his 14 years of exile, on that particular day, the whole city was lit up. And that is the occasion of Diwali. And as I was pointing out, that, no, as Payal was actually pointing out, that it is the light represents, the word you expressed is not just good, but
All things positive.
oh yeah, right. Light represents all things positive. And yes, through this we actually, through this authentic anecdote, or we can say through this history of Ram's activities, we can see how to remove the negativity and establish positivity. Like when we follow the ideal examples, then automatically positivity prevails, good prevails over evil. And that is why this occasion is so important to the Indian culture, Indian society. Like, of course, it's an occasion of jubilation and it's a great festivity. Naturally, it was an occasion of festivity. But behind that is this idea, or is this ideology, how to improve our own quality of life and how to create a perfect society. Like those, actually everyone is a leader in some way or other. Like no matter whoever one may be, at least at home, to his children, to his other family members, he's a leader. And this way it goes all the way up to the national leaders and world leaders. And it's very important that the leaders learn to develop these qualities, to create an environment or create an ideology that will enable the followers to move towards the right direction. And therefore these values have to be recognized and accepted in our life. Like why, how can we be perfect in our own way? And the simple answer to that is follow an ideal personality. Like the real leaders create a situation where their followers become not only happy, but find the fulfillment of their existence. And so when we talk about the purpose of this celebration, my simple answer will be to recognize the importance of these examples and accept these examples in order to mold our own lives according to them. Thank you all very much. All glories to Sri Ramchandra ki jai. Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. I mean, it's a very, it's an epic that has more than 50,000 verses describing it, and I tried to present it in a short way, the essence of it. And if anybody has any question, please feel free to ask. Yes?
There should not be any question to this, the entire episode, which had happened, and thanks for reminding the beautiful story to all of us, which we would have seen in childhood, right?
Right.
Form of that episode, right? And I'm not sure if anyone would forget about it. As an IT people, we always want to find reasons behind things, and there should not be a reason for few things. But then a question which would come to everyone's mind is, why would have been a period of 14 years would have been chosen to basically send Ram to serve in, right? Why it could not have been 10 years, or it could have been 20 years? That's one question which come to my mind. And the second question, which on a morning walk, some of the ladies were discussing, and I just want to put that discussion forward, is that they're describing Sita as the creation of, so many things, basically, as you also described, that in some form it took that particular time when Subhankha has to approach, and then it was found as a reason, and so if she can basically put forward that I would like to go along the ground, why would not have Urmila, who is Lakshman's wife, right, who wouldn't really take a similar approach to fulfill, though there were reasons behind that, but
good point.
So this was a discussion, and that was a question which I put forward. May not have an answer, or
right. No. This has been dealt with. This point. So the 14 years, because it had to be a long time for Bharat to establish himself in the kingdom properly. That's why the second condition. It had to be a long time that Ram is absent from the kingdom. Otherwise, there could have been a revolution. Otherwise, Ram's presence could have created a big impediment in Bharat's ascending the throne. And why, as you ask, why 14 years instead of 10? You see, there are certain ways of calculating time according to the Vedic consideration. Just consider 7 days make a week. Right? 7 multiplied by 2 is 14. So that is one of the considerations why it's 14 years. On the other hand, we can also see that, so this is one. And the second question, maybe you can just give me the essence of the second question again. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Why Lakshman's wife didn't go? She also wanted to go.
Yeah, of course.
But Lakshman said that when I go there, my business will be to protect Sita. And if you're with me, then that responsibility will be hindered. And so that is how Urmila was persuaded to stay back. Another consideration actually was that to take care of the mother. Because at that time, Bharat was not in the, you see, that out of the 4 brothers, there are 2 were attached to two. Like Lakshman was extremely attached to Ram, and Shatrugna was attached to Bharat. So the consideration was that, like, Bharat's wife could not be trusted now, or Shatrugna's wife, to take care of our mothers. So you stay back and take care of our mother. So these were the 2 points that was given by Lakshman to persuade Urmila to stay back.
I have a question from you.
Yeah.
Sometimes in corporate world, you're faced with a choice between doing something which is right, which is what Ram personifies, the most ideal doing it right, whether it's in your harm or interest or not, and doing something which is only in your interest, but slightly ignoring what is right. How does one actually deal with that kind of a choice? And what's the right way to deal with it?
You see, one must execute his duty. So that is the main consideration. And like the immediate consideration becomes my personal benefit or the benefit for the larger group, say the society or nation, or for your case, maybe the company's benefit. So I would say that like an ideal employee will consider the company's benefit as his prime consideration. Like here comes the loyalty, and that loyalty is a virtue. So a good person, an ideal person will uphold the quality of virtue, honesty, and loyalty. But of course, like the world that we are living in is always not possible to remain that, upright in our virtues, in our stand in morality and ethics.
Corporations appreciate loyalty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, say for example, if you have a servant, you'll naturally expect his loyalty to you, right? Now, similarly, a leader will expect the loyalty of his followers. A general in the army will expect the loyalty of his soldier when he's fighting the battle. The head of the nation will expect the loyalty of his citizens. And that creates the ideal society, whether in a larger form or in a smaller form. And one thing I can say, that by being good, by being virtuous, by being righteous, we may materially lose something, but internally we gain something that is priceless. Yes.
So just had a very quick comment to make. Yesterday we had an extremely unbelievable event. I just want to tell you about it very quickly. At the home of Anil Agarwal, Chairman of Vedanta Resources, one of our wonderful success stories in the Indian community, a person who from nothing, a person who was a taxi driver, is now someone who's a success story. At his home, His Holiness had joined two other corporate success stories. Zed Kama, who has been manager of the board of HSBC, and he's been in HSBC for over 44 years, was joined with His Holiness. Zed Kama was also born in Mumbai. He was the first ever Indian who became a managing director and a board member of such a large bank like HSBC. And then Rana Joy Basu, who is a new generation partner at Reed Smith. They joined His Holiness at the home of Anil Agarwal last night. to discuss a topic which was how to build a successful career which is also ethical. So unfortunately, well, it's my misfortune that nobody from Accenture participated. We had a fantastic gathering of people like yourselves. We don't have time to summarize it, but I would just like to request, Swamiji, if you can just share some of the principal points you mentioned yesterday, especially for people like ourselves who are born in India. We're here now, we're trying to build a successful career, but we come from such a huge, rich set of cultural values. What are the things that we should never let go of while we are still trying to build a successful career?
You know what was my first reaction was to that? Why don't you say it? I think you can summarize it in the most effective way, and because you have been moderating the discussions, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy hearing from you.
You should not have asked the question.
I mean, if it's not too difficult.
I'll just say one point, and then I'll request Swamiji to finish off or compliment or improve. From yesterday's conversation, what was very interesting, so Zed Kama, it really would have been so nice to have had some of you present there, because it's very difficult to find Indians who are actually, you know, on the board of a company, you know, $3.11 trillion. I mean, this is a very serious bank, and, you know, guiding over 300,000 employees globally. And one of us doing that. One of the points he mentioned, which I was really much shocked by, and His Holiness then complimented this particular point. He said that throughout all of my journey, you see, nowadays, and I'm sure some of yourself, when you have meetings, you can speak in Hindi. Even though Hindi is not my, you know, I was obviously born here, I speak in Hindi with my colleagues. And some who are non-Indians, I speak in Hindi with them as well, because they like it, you know, they love it. What happened was, during Zed's time, there was racism. You were not allowed to be a director because of the color of your skin. The British Raj had just finished, remember? You are the snake charmers. This is no longer the case now. So Zed mentioned there was two things that he never forgot, which helped him get through that time. And Swamiji then further complimented those from passages from the Gita, which I really would want him to share. The first thing he said was being selfless. He said that when I worked, I didn't work for money, because a person who works for money becomes subservient to money. You see? If you work for money, you become subservient to money. So he's mentioned that I used to work because I would want to do things for others. And he obviously pioneered the way, people like myself and many other people, without us knowing. The second thing that he mentioned, apart from being selfless, was that we should act as a matter of duty, because in that acting as a matter of duty, if you lose, you have something to gain. You have a journey, you have some improvements to make. And if you gain, you don't stop. You want to keep on gaining. You want to keep on performing your duty. So the first thing was acting in a selfless way for the benefit of the institution and others. And the second thing was acting as a matter of duty. And obviously all of us know this Karma Yoga is a great episode in Bhagavad Gita. And I would now like to hand it back over to Swamiji to provide us with a more spiritual insight, maybe on these two principles, if you may.
Well, I'll just try to make a few salient points here, present them. Like, you know, one important thing is to recognize the fact that money is not really the goal. Money is the means to achieve the goal. Money is the medium of exchange. That is how money should be utilized. Yes, we need money, because in order to get something, this is the means. Previously, in the early days, there used to be a barter system. And then as the things developed with time, like that system developed into a common medium of exchange. And that is money. In today's world, one problem is that people have forgotten that fact that money is the medium of exchange. Money is the means, money is not the goal. And we should actually try to enjoy what we are doing. Like whatever we are doing, it can be executed joyfully if we have the right approach. If we resent doing something, and that is the problem, that actually happens. That because money is the goal, therefore we tend to think that whatever I'm doing is to get the money, irrespective of the consideration whether I like to do it or not. And as a result of that, what's happening in today's world, a person who wants to be a poet, who wants to write poetry, he ends up becoming a factory worker. A person who likes to, play football, he ends up becoming office clerk. And things like that. Actually, in today's society, because of, I won't say ignorance, but I would say lack of awareness of what goal that one wants to pursue. Like everyone practically is involved in activities that they are not happy with. So that's why, but very easily we can do that. Like, okay, I'm doing this. Let me do it. Let me enjoy what I'm doing. And then what will happen, one will not really look at his watch when the time is going to tick, when I'll be free from that. Like one friend of mine was telling me once, he's a doctor, that today what is happening is people are using their youth in order to earn money, and when they're old, they're trying to spend that money to get back their youth. So that is the unfortunate state of affairs. Anyway, my earnest and simple request will be, like, just make this paradigm shift, or the mental shift. Just enjoy what you are doing. As long as you are doing it, since you have to do it, just do it as if you are going to enjoy it. Then that will create the right kind of attitude internally. And as I was also saying, being virtuous, being righteous, developing the right qualities, good qualities, is very important because of our internal satisfaction. You see, our actions affect our mind. When we act when we do something good, how do we feel internally? We feel elated. In mind, we feel elated. When we do something bad, even though no one saw me doing it, I feel heavy within. And not only that we are feeling that way, our actions are actually leaving their impressions in our mind. And accordingly the mentality develops. You see, we not only have this one material body made of matter. We have two material bodies. I mean, if we can go into that, like in briefly I'll say, the soul is our actual identity. And around the soul we have two bodies. One is this body made of 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. And we have a subtle body made of 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Man, buddhi, and ahankar. Now, the way we act, our actions affect our subtle body. As I said, good action elates us, bad action depresses us. So, and accordingly our mentality actually, the shape of our subtle body changes. Don't we sometimes say that someone is like an angel? Why? Because his activities are like that of an angel. And according to that, his subtle body actually takes up the shape of an angel. And sometimes we say that he is like an animal. Why? Because his activities are like that of an animal. And those activities actually affect the shape of his subtle body. And accordingly, the subtle body actually takes the shape. And anyway, this is going to lead us to another point. That is, what happens after death? Or what happens at death? The death is actually the departure of the soul from this body, gross body. When somebody dies, don't we say that he's gone? Now, who is that he who is gone? It's the soul that is gone. As long as the soul is in the body is alive. The moment the soul leaves the body dies. This body is, to begin with, is made of dead matter. Matter is dead. This body made of matter is a dead body. It's the presence of the soul that made this body alive, and the moment the soul leaves, the dead body becomes dead body again. Now, although at death we leave our gross body, this body, but the subtle body remains. The subtle body carries the soul to the next body. And the way one acted, accordingly his subtle body has taken the shape, and according to that shape one gets his next body. So that's why it's very important that we act in the right way so that we create our future in such a way that it will be beneficial and joyful even after we leave this body. I mean, this is this is what India's wisdom is. The Vedas are the books. The word Veda literally means knowledge. The Vedas are actually the book of knowledge. And all these informations are there in the Vedas. And they are so profound and they are so scientific. Like, there is no room for concoction or speculation or fiction in that area.
Just conscious of time.
Yes, right,
I think
sure.
we said that the event will be till 1:30, even though we had the room booked. So I would really like to thank Maharaj on behalf of everyone. I think we should give him a big round of applause.